Hello everyone, welcome to this unique journey into deep musical listening, thinking, internal sound memory, and creative expression. You're going to hear this music at the beginning of each session. It'll change every time and there is a reason for it, but I'm going to wait to get into that until much later in the course. So before we dive into our practical exercises, I want to share the core ideas behind the structure and pedagogy of this course. This isn't merely about practicing notes, it's about truly feeling and internalizing sound. And I want to try and keep the explanations outside, for the most part, of the actual exercises. That way you can just dive in, press play, go through the exercises, and we can keep the lecture type discussions separate. This is mostly informational, so that you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and hopefully can maintain the motivation to keep up with the activities. The goal is to cultivate audiation. We are cultivating audiation, which is the ability to hear music internally, even when no sound is present. So the first thing I want to talk about is why this rain and bird sounds. And I'm going to talk about this a lot. I need to reinforce it because you need to understand it is there intentionally, and it's not just there merely as a distraction, although that's part of it. So when you settle into these exercises, you may start to notice a gentle backdrop of rain and birdsong playing continuously. These sounds aren't just decorative. There's this idea, it's called attention restoration theory, or I call it ART. It shows this, the premise is that natural soundscapes help to reduce stress and promote a calm, focused state of mind. They've done a lot of research on this, and this ambiance that I'm providing here primes you for the mindful listening that our exercises require. This is much like a coach setting the stage for a focused training session. I will talk more about this, but I just want to let you know right away, these rain sounds are important and they're there for a reason. You just listen to them for a moment. So we want to build a strong foundation through focused repetition. That's the goal here. Think of my approach like that of an athlete training for peak performance. Just as elite athletes focus intensely on refining specific movements until they become second nature, our early sessions are dedicated to honing one core skill: building your internal sound memory. We concentrate exclusively on two notes in the very beginning, C and E flat. So in these opening sessions, you may even think they're too basic for you, but trust me, unless you have perfect pitch, these exercises are critical. And even if you do have perfect pitch, you probably haven't listened to music in this way. Not many people have. Think of it this way. Let's imagine a runner who's trying to perfect their stride, or a gymnast who's practicing a single tumbling pass. They do it over and over again. So this focused training is key. It conditions your body to perform at its best by improving your muscle memory and making it almost an automatic process. In our case, by repeatedly engaging with the interval between C and E flat and its various inversions, you develop a reliable and precise internal map of sound. It's setting the stage for more complex audiation skills. This repeated practice is a little bit like rigorous drills that prepare you for more complex routines. It's not about limiting your exposure to music, or it's not an exercise that's really below anybody. It will help all musicians of all levels. It's really about developing the foundational muscle memory that's going to support all your future musical achievements. So it's a really important exercise, and you need to think of this as if you were to go to the gym and start working out and you've never done it before, you use very light weight and you go very slowly. You can lift heavier weights, absolutely. You probably have the strength to do that. But when you want to first start working out, you want to use light weights to make sure you get the form down. you can think of it a little bit like that. We're using very simple exercises that are going to gradually, incrementally increase in difficulty. And by the end of the year, you'll be shocked how far you've actually come with this. So let's talk a little bit about the research and the philosophy supporting this approach that I'm dealing with here. So some of the research that underpins my methodology, a lot of it has to do with Edwin Gordon. So Edwin Gordon's work on audiation demonstrates that deeply internalizing sound lays the critical groundwork for musical understanding. We've done lots of studies on neuroplasticity, and they reveal that with deliberate, focused practice, even in adulthood, our brains can create robust mental maps of sound. This means that just like athletes who build strength and skill through repetitive training, you will develop a highly refined internal auditory framework from these focused exercises. We are mapping your brain. We are literally going in and laying the roads that all of your music are going to travel on. So it's a really important skill to develop. By dedicating our initial sessions to these two tones, we ensure that everyone here, regardless of musical background, builds that strong, shared foundation for future learning. Once this core is solid, incorporating additional musical elements will feel more natural and confident, and we will be able to do a course that is entirely audio-based. If I don't start with these very basic elements, then I can't teach a course for everybody in audiation and composing techniques that is based on audio only, just listening to a recording. So this is very important. So we're trying to internalize this gap through mindful audiation. Okay, so when I refer to internalizing the gap, I'm inviting you to go beyond merely noting the two successive tones. This is what we normally do. It's two tones. You want to become fully aware of the space between them. Think of it as a subtle pause in athletic performance, a moment that, although brief, is essential for timing and execution. So just as an athlete might use a pause before a sprint to prepare their body for explosive action, you will learn to sense the silent space that connects the notes. By focusing closely on this interval, the C and the E flat. Now listen to the slight gap between C and E flat. There's a slight gap there. You're developing a refined internal rhythm that is as critical as the sound of the notes themselves. This is a type of mindful listening that is going to set apart a practice skill from mere imitation. It's this precise internalization that will eventually empower you to perceive and reproduce more complex musical ideas. So we have our C here. It has one sound, and then we have the E flat. There's another sound. Now you don't always have to do this, because sometimes I'm just playing a single note and I'll just have you audiate that note. But when I play two notes, mind the gap. Pay attention to the silence in between the notes. And I'm not going to say this in the sessions, but it's important that you pay attention to what that silence feels like between the notes, because it is colored by the C and the E flat. If I play the C, brief silence, E flat. Now listen to that silence. What does it sound like? I know that sounds kind of funny, but what does a silence sound like? It's different. It's a different type of silence than C to E. And it's different from C to F. You can't describe it, and I don't want you to, but just notice that silence and notice how the C has colored the silence, and then in retrospect, in hindsight, the E flat also colors the silence. So it works on both ends of the spectrum. And so all you have to do for this to sort of mind the gap is to just notice the silence in between. Just say, I recognize the silence. So the idea here is that by dedicating these early sessions to a highly focused exercise on these two tones, you're setting the stage for everything that follows. With a well-trained internal sound memory, adding new pitches, chords, and phrases later on will be like adding advanced techniques to an athlete's already strong fundamentals. Every drill that you complete here makes you better prepared for the challenges ahead, and we are trying to remap the brain. Okay? That is a difficult thing to do. But if you've ever learned any skill, whatever instrument you play, you know that you started basic. You started with very simple actions, and those later turned into great actions, right? We're doing the same thing, but we've never trained the ear to do this. Most of us have never gone through a program where we have taken it from the very basic starting level to the most complex audiation capabilities that a human can have. And so that is what we're doing here. We're going slow, building a foundation. So in closing, I invite you to fully engage with this initial phase. You're going to have doubts, you're going to have questions. Try and push those aside. Recognize that every element of this course, from our dedicated focus on the C and the E flat, through mindful audiation, to these supportive nature sounds, these have all been carefully thought out and chosen to nurture a deep and lasting connection to music. Imagine that every minute you spend in these focused listening exercises is equivalent to rigorous training drills that build an athlete's strength and endurance. These drills are essential. They form the internal muscle memory of your musical expression. So embrace this process, knowing that it's preparing you for all the exciting challenges that lie ahead. And this is an extremely challenging course. It really is. So embrace the easy opening lessons this first month, because it just gets harder. But again, all you have to do is press play a few times a week and you're good to go. So welcome. I'm excited to have you here. If you have any questions, remember, you can post a comment on any one of the lessons, and I encourage you to do so. If I ask a question in these lessons, I'd love for you to respond there. If you don't feel comfortable posting publicly among other course members, that's fine. You can always email me at kevin@UreMusic.com. That's my website. So you can also use the chat system on my website. Whatever method you can use to get a hold of me is fine. Just tell me you're taking this course, remind me of your name, and I will get back to you and we will have a collaborative experience here. I'm also going to say one other thing here, and this is going to be for the founding members that started before June 6th. So if you signed up on June 6th or before, you can go ahead and schedule a time to meet with me once a month while we're doing this. So if you need additional help, you have questions about the exercises, I'm going to set a time just for the founding members once a month to meet with me for free. So it's part of your tuition. Those that come after will have this option too. So if you did not sign up for June 6, 2025, you can still meet with me. You just book a call on my website and there will be a small fee associated with it. So keep that in mind. I am here to support you. I want to make sure you stay on track. Please don't get behind. Keep up. Push your ear. It's important to go week by week. You don't want to take a week off at a time. Even if you just complete the exercises once and that's all you can manage that week, go on to week 2 when it's available. Go on to week 3 when it's available. Keep going. And then if you have time and you feel like one of the lessons, one of the weeks was harder, you can go back and complete those, but keep pushing forward at the same time. Okay? So you can play catch up a little bit, but make sure you always at least listen to the lessons for the new week. And that will be how you see the best success. All right, so I'm looking forward to starting with you. And there will be another introductory audio file here. I'm trying to get a lot of this out of the way right at the beginning so I don't have to talk too much throughout the course. Okay? All right, thank you. We'll see you in there.